A Mortal's Journey to Immortality Episode 173. In the previous episode, after leaving the Drifting Cloud sect, Han Li and Elder Lu embarked on their journey from the state of Shi toward the Grand Trade Meet held once every century, the largest gathering of cultivators in the Heavenly South. Accompanying them was Peiling, Han Li's concubine, who wished to broaden her horizons before attempting to break through her cultivation bottleneck. Traveling cautiously, they avoided the domains of both the righteous and Devil Dao, eventually arriving at the borders of the Nine Nations Union without trouble. Along the way, Han Li noticed that even passing cultivators would hastily change course at the sight of two Nascent Soul experts traveling together. As they neared Soaring Heavens City, Elder Lu shared the city's storied past, a place built entirely by cultivators, where a desperate battle once turned the tide against the invading Moulan Spell Warriors. Their calm conversation was interrupted when Han Li sensed a powerful presence approaching. Moments later, a magnificent golden procession appeared on the horizon, an entourage of armored cultivators escorting a radiant carriage drawn by a Qilin and a fire phoenix. Recognizing the figure within, Elder Lu's face turned pale. The mysterious visitor was none other than Marquis Nanlong, a powerful and eccentric cultivator known for his unpredictable nature. As the golden carriage came to a halt, the air grew heavy with tension. And the story continues. When Han Li heard himself mentioned, he simply smiled and remained silent. He knew that his senior martial brother Lu would speak on his behalf. And sure enough, Lu Luo stepped forward without hesitation. He introduced Han Li to Marquis Nanlong with careful words, highlighting that Han Li had just recently condensed his nascent soul and that by his side was Lady Mu. His concubine, Han Li, calm and composed, saluted the carriage and greeted the Marquis politely, his expression betraying no hint of anxiety or fear. Inside the carriage, Marquis Nanlong looked at Han Li with an indifferent gaze, remarking that he was unfamiliar with the name. He seemed to recognize that Han Li was indeed a new nascent soul cultivator and proposed an exchange of skills to gauge his abilities. Lu Luo's confident smile quickly vanished, replaced by concern. The Marquis tone carried a subtle, unmistakable edge, different from the eccentricity he had shown before, and it hinted at a seriousness that demanded caution. Marquis Nanlong made it clear that the contest would not involve cultivation to overwhelm the other, but would instead rely solely on their spiritual senses. He mentioned that Han Li's spiritual sense was surprisingly strong, especially for someone who had only recently reached the nascent soul stage. A golden light then flashed from the carriage, fading to reveal the three occupants: the Marquis, a man dressed in opulent purple robes adorned with embroidered pythons, and two women in flowing, snow-white palace robes, clearly his concubines, their graceful beauty evident despite their foundation establishment-level cultivation. Lu Luo, worried, urged caution. He knew contests of spiritual sense could be exceedingly dangerous, especially given that Han Li had yet to fully stabilize his nascent soul. Marquis Nanlong, however, smiled coldly, reassuring Lu Luo that perhaps Han Li would be willing to participate. He added a layer of threat, revealing that they were already within 500 kilometers of Soaring Heavens City and invoking the forced trade law. The revelation left Lu Luo alarmed. He did not immediately grasp the full implications of the forced trade. But Marquis Nanlong explained, the law allowed a nascent soul cultivator to exchange superior goods for something they desired. If the other party refused, a contest of techniques and spiritual abilities would decide the outcome. In this case, the Marquis intended to use the law to attempt to trade his two concubines for Han Li's Lady Mu. If Han Li refused, the matter would be settled through a contest of spiritual sense. The stakes were high. If Han Li won, he could retain his own concubine and possibly take both of the Marquis concubines. But losing would mean handing over Lady Mu without compensation. Lu Luo detailed the risks. Forced trades were rare because disputes between nascent soul cultivators were not easily restrained, and severe injuries could draw attention from the Nine Nations Union's enforcers. Even so, the law was legally binding, and those who refused an exchange without contest could face serious consequences. For Han Li, however, there was little personal concern. He was not overly attached to Peiling, and the possibility of gaining 2 concubines of high cultivation was not alarming. Peiling, on the other hand, felt a wave of regret and fear. She realized the precariousness of their situation. A nascent soul cultivator like Marquis Nanlong could view her as nothing more than an item in the exchange. And the thought unsettled her. She doubted that her husband could defeat the Marquis, and her pale expression betrayed her concern. Han Li, completely calm, asked Lu Luo for further explanation, taking in all the details before responding. When the Marquis pressed him for a decision, Han Li's demeanor remained unshaken. After a pause, he agreed to the spiritual sense contest but made a surprising request. If he won, he did not want the Marquis concubines. Instead, he wished to learn the true reason behind the Marquis' desire for this contest, hinting that the challenge was not simply motivated by desire for Lady Mu. This clever response left Marquis Nanlong momentarily speechless before he agreed to Han Li's condition. Though his expression remained solemn, Peiling, seeing Han Li's decision, called out to him with a mixture of concern and confusion. Lu Luo, though reassured by Han Li's calm, still warned him to be cautious, ready to intervene if the contest became dangerous. Han Li nodded silently, fully aware of the potential risks but confident in his own abilities. With the formalities completed, the Marquis flung his sleeves and propelled himself through the air, while Han Li responded with a flash of azure light. Approaching the contest site, both parties halted about 20 meters apart, ready to measure their spiritual senses. Han Li calmly addressed the Marquis, expressing his curiosity about the true motive behind the challenge, acknowledging that it must be serious given the level of preparation. Marquis Nanlong, cold and measured, explained that Han Li's spiritual sense had already impressed him. Yet he bluntly reminded Han Li of the difficulty ahead. He warned that the difference in spiritual strength between an early nascent soul and a mid-nascent soul cultivator was significant, hinting that the contest would test Han Li to his limits. The atmosphere grew tense as the two prepared to engage, each aware of the stakes, not just for the exchange of concubines, but to uncover hidden motives and assert their spiritual prowess. The situation was delicate, the law of forced trade in play, and the strength difference looming over them made the upcoming contest a truly dangerous and pivotal moment. The differences in spiritual strength between early and mid-nascent soul cultivators aren't something to underestimate. And that wraps up this episode. In this part, we saw Han Li facing an unexpected intense challenge from Marquis Nanlong, who invoked the rare forced trade law. This law could have compelled Han Li to exchange his beloved Lady Mu for the Marquis' 2 concubines. A situation filled with both legal authority and dangerous consequences. Despite the gravity of the situation, Han Li remained completely calm and composed, demonstrating not only his confidence but also his keen understanding of the rules and strategies of nascent soul cultivators. Rather than reacting impulsively or with anger, Han Li chose to accept the contest of spiritual sense, not to gain material advantage, but to learn the true reason behind the Marquis challenge. His decision reflected his intelligence and careful approach, showing that he valued insight and understanding above simple victory or personal gain. Through this, we also saw the delicate balance of power at play in the world of high-level cultivation, where even seemingly minor decisions could carry significant risk. Meanwhile, Lu Luo and Peiling's concern highlighted just how tense the situation was. They understood the dangers of confronting a mid-nascent soul cultivator like Marquis Nanlong and the unpredictable outcomes of a contest of spiritual sense. Their reactions also provided a contrast to Han Li's calm and collected demeanor, emphasizing how far he had grown as a cultivator capable of handling high-stakes scenarios with strategy and patience. This episode not only revealed the intricacies of the forced trade law but also showcased Han Li's ability to navigate complex and potentially dangerous situations while maintaining his composure. It reminded us that in the world of cultivation, strength is not only measured by raw power, but also by intelligence, foresight, and the ability to remain unshaken in the face of threats. If you enjoyed this episode or found it exciting, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the latest episodes following Han Li's incredible journey. Thank you for watching, and we can't wait to see you again in the next episode.